right? So the create task begins on page 196. 196. Everything else before here, right? There's like a bunch of like extra pages talking about like, there's an example exam up there. There's a bunch of things that you can look at. So let's start off. The create performance task. I'm going to walk through line by line and show you what we're going to be doing. So starting off, programming is a collaborative and creative process that brings ideas to life through the development of software, right? All the ideas that we have, things we can create, we want to be able to document them. We want to start taking steps toward innovating something new. So programming is not just something that you're told to do. It's something that allows you to create something, thus the create performance task name. In the create performance task, you will design and implement a program that might solve a problem. So you can either 1, solve a problem, 2, enable innovation. That's like kind of broad. That's like make something new, right? So solve a problem, make something new, explore your personal interests. Maybe it's just something you're interested in. It doesn't solve any problems. Hey, I really like playing this one video game, right? And I would like to make it because I'd like to make my own version of it because I think it would be fun, right? That's an example of exploring personal interests. Or just being creative, right? If you look at like a lot of programmers, they don't start off as programmers. They start off as people who just have really good ideas and want to make them come to life. And they don't want to pay someone in order to make it for them, right? And they don't, if they're starting up a business and they have an idea, they don't want to pay someone, so they learn how to do it themselves in the beginning. And then once they have a product that works, right, or at least kind of a beta version of something, they can maybe outsource some work, right? That's what I've done in a lot of cases. Okay, so when you're making this project, make sure it either does one of these things. It either is going to solve a problem, it's going to, or be something you're interested in. That's really the 2 main things. Okay, most solutions or most software or most programs that you write are either going to be because you want to solve a problem or because you like it. You're passionate about it. Your passion project. What do you like? Okay, so one of those 2 things. You are allowed to collaborate with your partners. And nope, on the development program only. This is not for Spalding. This is for schools where they come to school and they only have one computer there and they have to share a computer, and you know, it's just very difficult. You guys all have your own computer. You guys have been learning separately your entire semester so far, right? You're not going to collaborate with your partner. You don't have a partner. So anytime this document that mentions a partner, even though other schools may allow that, we're not going to do that. All right, we're going to be focused on it individually. You won't be working on this in partners. This is going to be just you. So in the future, when we go through this document, it's going to mention partners. I'm going to say, nope, not for us. All right. The written response and the video that you submit for this performance task must be completed individually. Okay, so I'm going to add code to that as well. Okay, the written response and video and code that you submit for this performance task must be completed individually without any collaboration with partners or anyone else. Anyone. Can't be like your brother who's a computer science major, or your dad who works in software, or me, or another student that you know that goes to school here that used to do it or did it last year. Nope, don't do that. This is for you. Okay, you're going to really benefit from this. Okay, and I'm going to be here to slightly help. I'll help set the guidelines and set the framework. I just can't do certain things for you. And we're going to detail those things in here. Okay, it says you can develop the code segments used in the written responses, part 3B and 3C, with your not partners. You're not using partners, no partners. Okay, on your own during the administration of the performance task. So really, don't worry about that. Everything is going to be individually done. No partners for this project. Okay. Please note that once the performance task has been assigned as an assessment, Okay, so once it's been assigned as an assessment for submission to College Board, you are expected to complete the task without assistance from anyone. There are no partners. And then, only when developing the programming code, like I said, no partners. You must follow the guidelines for completing the create task section below. So here are some guidelines. You might be thinking, well, what am I doing? Right? I'm going to talk through everything that you're doing. I'm going to break it down step by step. Okay? You'll be provided with a minimum of 12 hours of class time, a minimum, to complete and submit the following. Okay? So 4 weeks. 4 weeks you're going to be working on this. And there's 3 main things you got to do. You got to write some code, right? Not collaboratively, right? Everything that says like together, it's not, it's independent. Okay? Write code, you're going to write your program. Then you're going to make a video. I'll explain the video. It's going to really just show the running of your program. So it's going to show your program running through step by step, showing everything that you're doing. And you don't even talk during the video. You don't have to explain it all. You just have to show what it does, right? They don't want to hear your voice. If they hear your voice, they mark points off, right? They don't want to know who it is. They don't want to know if it's a boy or girl, right? They just want you to go through and do it, right? So the video that displays the running of your code. And then the last thing are written responses to all the prompts in the performance task. And the prompts are going to be below, and I'll walk through that part. So really there's 3 things. Like I said, there's going to be the code, the program that you're writing, right? You're going to make a video, and then you have to write back the written responses. Okay, it's going to ask you questions about your code, and you have to answer them. Kind of like how in the projects that we've made so far, I've always had you like make a program and then take screenshots of it, and at the very end, I ask you questions. That's going to be the written part here. It's going to ask you a few questions. I've tried my best to prepare you guys for this without saying, hey, this is going to prepare you for the AP exam, right? Really, this entire time I've had in mind what the requirements are and how I can prepare you guys for that the best possible way. And when you guys finally look at this for the first time, you're like, wow, that's actually not that bad. I know how to do that. That was my goal for first semester, okay? So scoring guidelines and instructions for submitting your performance task are available on the AP Computer Science Principles exam page. So if I were to click there, right, let's see what opens up. This page opens up. So any sort of like guidelines in terms of like the rubric and things like that, all that can be found down here. Scoring information, right? These are some student responses, some examples that we'll be checking out here in a few minutes. All right. So if you're wondering how it's going to be graded, you can check there. Students in non-traditional classroom environments should consult a school-based AP coordinator for instructions. That's not us. Not us. All right. The first thing, like I said, we got the code, we got the video, and we got in the written responses. The first thing is the code. It says submit one PDF file that contains all of your program code, including comments. Now, Mr. Danza, wait, how do I make a PDF file? Realize it says PDF. Well, check this out. I've been preparing you for this. Every single project, I've had you make like a Google Doc, right? So if I add like a new Google Doc, and let's say I just like write a bunch of things in here, and then I say, all right, I want to save this as a PDF so I can submit to College Board. It's easy. All you do is 2 steps. Click File, and then you scroll down to Download, and then you go right, and you select that, and it downloads as PDF. That's just saying it doesn't want it in doc. It doesn't want a Microsoft doc. It doesn't want a Microsoft Word doc. It doesn't want any other format. It wants it in PDF. So all you have to do is just open up a new Google Doc, type whatever you want in there, and then just click on File, scroll on down to Download, and download as PDF. All right? That's why we're using Google Docs, because to me, that's the easiest way. I don't know about you guys, but to me, that's the easiest way. All right. Submit one PDF file that contains all your program code. Okay, so that's why I've been having you guys submit it in your Google Doc. Now, it's not going to be a screenshot. It's just going to be you copying your code and pasting it in there. Include comments, you know what comments are, or acknowledgments for any part of the submitted program code that has been written by someone else other than you. Now, the reason they have that line in there, let's say you have a picture in your game that you downloaded from the internet, right? And there is a section in here about plagiarism, but anything that's not your work, you just have to put in the comments and say, hey, look, I took this from the internet. Kind of like how you cite in the research paper, how you cite things, that's what you would do. Okay, you just put in a comment. All right, so if the programming environment allows you to include comments, that's us. That's the preferred way. In your program, you must include student-developed program code that contains the following, okay? It needs to do this. It needs to accept user input. Input could be many different things. Input could be someone typing something. Input could be someone pressing a button, right? There's a lot of things that we've accepted input from throughout. Think of like our menu. An example of accepting input during our menu project was just clicking a button. An example during the Dragon Adventure project was you typing in a response. An example of accepting user input in tic-tac-toe was you clicking something. In rock, paper, scissors, of you clicking something. Right? So there's many different ways you can accept user input, but if you would like, we haven't gone into detail and talked a lot about how to take data from the internet, right? We haven't talked about that, but if you would like to use like different modules to do this, you can. Namely, the number one way that's used most of the time is accepting user input. So all you have to do is you have to pick one of these, okay? Most of you guys will pick user input. That just means like, hey, include a button in there, or hey, include a text box, or include somewhere where the user can type something. That's all that means. All right, so the first thing, check that off. All right, I know how to do that. Use at least one list or other collection type. Some of the other collection types we talked about like a tuple and a dictionary, right? But really, I want you guys to use a list, right? We've talked about lists in detail. Use a list to represent a collection of data that is stored and used to manage program complexity, okay? So really that means, hey, use a list. Create a list of something. We've talked about lists for the past month now. Use them. That's why I stressed the power and importance of lists, because I knew you had to use at least one list in here. Okay? Use at least one procedure. What's another name for a procedure? A function. Okay? Procedures are the same thing as functions. So you guys know how to make your own functions in Python. DEF, defining something, right? So it's just saying, hey, make a function and make it contribute to the program. Like basically don't write a function and then like have it have to do nothing with your program. Make a function that's used in the program and make sure it has a name. We know how to name a function, right? Its return type, it's not necessary in Python, okay? You don't have to say, hey, I'm about to return a string. That's more for like C++ or Java or other programming languages. You have to determine the type, right? And then it has to have one or more parameters, your function. So in the actual parameters that it's accepting, think of like the rock, paper, scissors project, how we accepted parameters and then they were used in the function. All right, so a procedure is just a function. So we know what a list is, we know what a function is, we know what user input is. Now it says use an algorithm, okay? Meaning it just use a step-by-step instruction, a step-by-step list of something, of an algorithm that does something. So one of the algorithms that we used was a change turns algorithm. But you can create your own algorithms, right? That's just an example of one of the algorithms we use. right? And that's a popular one. But you can use an algorithm. It can be one that you write. It's just mainly saying, hey, give me some step-by-step instructions that do something, right? Make your procedure do something. And then actually call that procedure. So call the function. The reason why that is, you don't want to just create a function and then never call it. Like say define, and let's say I name my function select, right? SELECT, open parentheses, close parentheses, colon, and then I make it do something. If I never call that function at the very end, it's just a function that just sits there. And I defined a function that didn't do anything. So make sure it calls that function. Functions are the same things as procedures. Then it says instructions for output. That means just go ahead and make it output something. So if you click on a button and something happens, let the user know that it happened. Like if I click on a button and I want it to turn red, make it turn red. That's an example of output. Okay. If you type something in and then press enter and something else pops up on the screen, that's an example of output. Okay. Input is you entering something to the computer. The computer processes it, chooses whether or not to store it, and then sends it back to you so you can see it as output. Okay. So all these things, check it out. This was all your code you have to include: an input, some sort of input, a list, a function, an algorithm, call your function, and then have it actually do something, have an output. Now, some of you guys might have ideas swirling through your head, and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to pick. Just wait till I go through some of the example projects. They're not incredibly difficult, all right? This just defines a list. Some programming languages call lists arrays, like Java, right? Not us. Python calls it a list. So collection types, lists, databases, sets, right? And then we're using text-based programming. Now your video. Check this out. If you were ever worried about the video, this is going to help you guys out. It says submit one video file that demonstrates the running of your program. So really you just make a video of your program running. Now there's a lot of different programs that you can use to record your screen. I like using Screencastify, but I'm recording my screen right now using Google Meet even, right? There's a lot of different ways you can do it. Screencastify is free, it's easy. I literally just click up here. All the videos I make for you guys in class, I literally just click this, right? And it pops up, and it's not gonna work right now because I'm already recording, but I select what I want and I click record, and it records it and automatically stores it in my Google Drive, okay? And then I can download it as an MP4 file later, which I'll talk about. So your video must demonstrate your program running. Collaboration is not allowed. Okay, it needs to show, basically prove that you can walk through the video, or prove that you can walk through your program that you write. So give an example of you entering the input. Give an example of how your program works, like when I type something in and press the button, that something shows up. Just show me that, okay? And show me the output. Your video cannot contain any distinguishing information. So don't lead off and say, hi, my name is Joe from Archbishop Spalding High School. No, don't do that, right? Or, hey, I'm going to show you how my project works. You should not be able to be distinguishable from the project. It should be, you should not use voice narration. Do not talk, okay? It's just you going through without talking, showing how your program works. Okay, it does say text captions are encouraged. There are some examples that I've seen. A lot of examples I've seen do not include text, but you can use it if you want to. Your video must be either an MP4, and there's different formats as well. The most popular one is going to be an MP4. It's very easy to convert it to an MP4 via Screencastify, what I use. You literally just click download and asks you what you want to download it as, and I select MP4. All right. Now, it can be no more than a minute. So if it's 1:05, nope, not good. If it's 2 minutes long, nope, If it's 10 seconds long and it does all these things, that's great. Okay, just under a minute. Most of the time I give you prompts that say do at least something. No, under a minute. They don't want to spend 2 hours looking through all your entire code. No, give me in less than a minute. Just give me a snippet, show me what's going on. Most people do it in like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. You'll see. All right. And make sure it's no longer than 30 megabytes in size. If it's under a minute, then that shouldn't be a problem. All right. So the first thing was the code, right? You have the code here. The second thing was the video. The third thing that you're going to be submitting is the written responses, and they're all listed below. Check them out. Look at all these written responses. Some of you guys are like, oh man, I do not like writing. Well, they want to show that you actually know what you're doing. Okay, this is worth a percentage of your AP exam. So you have the multiple choice section, yes, but you're going to turn this in as well. Okay, this is going to be part of your AP exam grade. So it says submit your responses to prompts 3A through 3D, which are described below. Your response to all prompts combined must not exceed 750 words, which means it cannot be more than, right? They usually cap off the most you can do, not a minimum. It's saying, hey, give me the information as quick as you can. Don't write me a huge essay telling me what your program does. Tell me what it does. Give me the meat, not the fluff, okay? They don't want to read through all this stuff, right? Can you imagine someone's job reading through all this? Give me the answer. That's all I want. I want the answer. Your response to all prompts combined must not exceed 750 words. Collaboration is not allowed on the written responses. Okay? Collaboration isn't allowed, period. Instructions for submitting your written responses are available on this page. So if you ever want to click there, look at that. It's a link, I can click it. Okay, provide a written response for all three of the following. Describe its purpose. That's why I've asked you guys to do that for the previous projects, because I want you guys to have practice explaining what the project does. Explain the functionality, like what it, in general, what it's supposed to do in general, and now be specific. Describe the functionality, right? Then describe what input is being collected. Is it a button that's clicked? Is it a text box? And then what happens, right? Describe what it actually does, what actually happens in your program, the output, the input. It says capture and paste, so copy and paste 2 code segments. That's why I've had you submit screenshots so many times this year, so you're used to submitting screenshots. You know, say, hey, Mr. Janza, how do I take a screenshot, right? Take screenshots of your code, okay? And it says, answer, the first program code segment must show how data. Now, here's the problem. I cannot stand. So some people believe that data should be a plural, right? I understand data, like it is, there's multiple things going on, but like you'll see it say like data are instead of data is, right? The impact data is, or there is a lot of data in here. They want you to write there are a lot of data. So like, even though you might think this is a typo, it's not. It says must show how data have. I don't like that. No one in the computer science industry, no one says data are. No one says that, okay? So it's kind of like probably an English thing that they're trying to satisfy, but show how data has been stored in the list. So show me how data has been stored in the list, okay? The second program code segment must show the data in the same list being used, such as creating new data from the existing data or accessing multiple elements in the list as part of fulfilling the program's purpose. So really show me how the list works, right? Show me in the code that you're replacing things in there. Identifies the name of the list being used, whatever you name the list. Describes the data contained in the list. Tell me about what's being stored in there. If it's just a bunch of different colors being stored in there, then that's fine. Okay, tell me. Let me show you some examples, right? Let me continue going through and then I'll come back to that part. Explains how the selected list manages complexity, right? How does creating a list make your code easier, right? Why do you use a list? So now it's asking you to copy and paste two functions, right? So two procedures. The first program code segment must be a student-developed function that defines the function's name and return type. Okay, well, it's not necessary because Python is not a language that uses return types like that. Contains and uses one or more parameters. So really, you're just copying and pasting a function and telling me what it does, right? Implementing an algorithm. The second program code segment must show where your function is being called. So show me that your function is actually called in your program. All right. Describe in general what the identified function does. So tell me in general what it does. And then explain in depth, like the algorithm, like give me details. Okay, the algorithm is like each step. Algorithm is just a list of step-by-step instructions. All right. And then show me that it's called twice, the first call, the second call. Describe what conditions are being tested by the first call, by the second call, and then the result of each. And that's it. Now, before I move forward, there are a few other things I want to show you in here that are down here, talking about plagiarism and other things. But I want to show you some examples. All right, check this out. And these are broken links. If you try clicking on them, watch this. See how it just goes on like that? I copy the link, and then I'm going to paste it in another tab. Check this out. So this is going to be an example of someone who made, this is their project, all right? So pay attention. Watch this carefully and see what it does. So if you guys can't hear what's going on, okay, what's happening is when a person clicks on a button, let's say they click on black, okay, it will say black in French. It will say it out loud. It will voice narrate it, right? If they click on red, it will say red in French. And you go through. If you were to deselect French and select Spanish, it would then go through and answer each one. Now, some of you guys might not hear this, but I'll go through the rest of it. So notice right there that it says select only one language. Let me go back here. So he has both French and Spanish selected. He or she has both French or Spanish selected, and it says select only one language, meaning that there's some function in there that runs and says, hey, you can't have both. If French is checked and Spanish is checked, then have a label pop up on the screen and say, hey, only select one language. And they go through and they select each one. So as you see, the person is not talking at all. And then if you click on a color and you have neither selected, so if French and Spanish are not selected, then have a label pop up that says select your language. All right, that's an example. That's one of the ones that College Board advertises there. Check it out. It's the very first one, right? Now let me go to the second video here. So in this one, okay, this is a typing game. And the way it works is, it says how to play. Read the highlighted sentence at the top, type the sentence exactly before the time runs out. Click done. So it's kind of like, hey, a sentence is going to pop up, type it perfectly. And then it gives the high scores. And what it did was, that seemed like a very Like, why would someone make that program? That's exactly it. It's not expected to be super complicated. It literally just had someone type something. It checked to see if the text was the same. If it was wrong, notice like he typed it without a period, and he clicked done, and this red button popped up, and I can't read it, but I'm pretty sure it said like, hey, that's incorrect. He fixed it, put a period at the end, and then it let him through, and then it says, enter your name and save your score. Okay, so it gives you your score, how fast you typed it. I don't know how it calculated that, but so it says Mr. Clean, right? And he saved it, right, as one of the high scores, and it got saved right there. Okay, I don't know if that was 3 seconds, 9. I don't know how he calculated that, right? But that's what he did and create a high score, and that, I guess, is his list that he made. Now he probably, if the result is more than the previous one, then put it higher up on the list. So he made like a little scoreboard there. All right, that's that. And then if you go back to, I'll close out of this, I'll close out of these two. Let's look at a third example. This is another video. Let me copy the link and I'll paste it. So in this example, it says, help clean our world. How many hours did you spend driving today? Someone typed in 15 hours, right? And then when they clicked go, it said, you are emitting too many fossil fuels into our atmosphere. Consider carpooling or utilizing public transportation. It's like telling you whether or not you're doing good things, I guess, in their opinion, right? How much time you spend driving today? If you say 2 and say go, good. You are helping you're helping keep our world clean, right? So it's not asking, and go to the next question, click next question. It's not asking you to create this crazy complicated program. I would argue that our tic-tac-toe game, I would argue that our rock, paper, scissors game might be more complicated than some of these, right? So I wanted to prepare you guys with other things that you can use, right? Notice that there wasn't a lot of interaction. You're not trying to create this crazy program. Do not do it. Pick something that will normally take you a week to do. That's what I would do. Pick a program that you can probably do in a week. Because what's going to happen is it'll probably take you a little bit more than a week. And then after that week is over, you can work on the video and then work on the written responses. So I would plan for something to take you around a week long to do, right? So we've had week-long projects in this class. Pick something that'll take around a week. Then debug if you need to the second week. And then work on the video. The video is literally just you just showing me what your program does. And then do the written responses. Okay? Down here it says guidelines for completing the create performance task. It says computer science principles policy on plagiarism. All right. I'm sure you can read through this yourself, but it's saying, hey, look, if you are using someone else's stuff, right, it is considered plagiarism. Don't just copy a program that you see on the internet and use it. And the way that it's going to go through and it's going to see that you know what you're doing by the way that you answer the questions too. Okay? If you do plagiarize, you'll get a 0. The highest grade you can get is a 5 or a 4. Sorry, most people strive for a 5 or a 4 on the exam. And then that can be accepted by colleges to have you be exempt from maybe taking an intro computer science class in college, right? Some colleges allow that. To the best of their knowledge, teachers will ensure that students understand how to ethically use and acknowledge the ideas and works of others. If you even consider that it might be someone else's work, then make a comment of it. You can use the hash symbol in Python, right? And make a comment. The student's individual voice should be clearly evident. What it means by that, it doesn't mean literally. It doesn't say, hey, talk throughout it. It's saying, hey, look, make something of your own. Be an individual. And the ideas of others must be acknowledged, attributed, and or cited. And the way you would cite things is through comments. During the final submission project in the AP digital portfolio, students will be asked to attest that they have followed. Basically, you're going to be asked like, hey, did you do this on your own? And if you click the agree button or whatever it is, then it will assume that you did not plagiarize it. Okay. What are some things you should do to prepare for the task? All right, we've learned about it. We know what we need to do. We need to do a code. We need to do video. We need to do written responses. Now what? Okay, where do we start? So first, we want to obtain content knowledge, right? All of this stuff that we learned first semester, everything we learned first semester was that. Okay, I already did the first step with you. Learn how to do it. If I would have started off the very first day and said, all right, guys, we're making this huge project, you look at me and be like, what? You didn't teach me anything, right? We spent 16, 17 weeks going through content. Okay, so that way you guys can maybe start going through. Maybe you were doing a project and you're thinking, oh, wow, like I can actually utilize this and make my own program. I can use buttons. I can use labels. I can use text boxes. I can use things to create a program that I want to make, right? Or I learned how to design things using the turtle module, make something look nice. You can combine that and create something of your own. Then review the performance task directions and guidelines. That's what we're doing right now. I'm making a video right now that I'll post and you guys can watch as many times as you want. Okay? Brainstorm problems that programming can address. So once you've already learned the stuff, right? Once you've already reviewed it, then you start thinking, all right? So it's saying, all right, what do I want to do? You sit there, and it might take you the weekend even. You're just thinking about things, coming up with your plan. How am I going to tackle this? As needed, seek assistance from your teacher. If needed, seek assistance from me. Okay, just ask me. Okay. If you want to help, if you need help in picking a topic, don't pick something that's too difficult. It can be similar to something we've done before. Like you could pick like the Dragon Adventure project and do something, add an entirely different game. It's not Dragon Adventure, but it could be a choose your own adventure game, right? You can use buttons and labels and things we've used in the past, text boxes, and create something similar to what you've seen before. It does not have to be over complicated. Just make it straight up. All right, make it something that someone understands, even if they've never programmed before, that you can look at it and be like, oh, that makes sense. Be prepared to collaborate with peers as necessary. We're not doing a collaboration. Okay. Practice and discuss the entire performance task or individual prompts. So the practice that we've done has already happened when we have first attained the content knowledge. But if you guys want to practice even more, like you guys want to continue coding and learning things, then that's fine, right? But now we're starting the task, right? This is all prior, okay? So these are all things that like you should know how to do already before going in. Review the role your teacher can and cannot play in providing assistance during the actual performance task. I cannot write your code for you, right? If you come to me and ask like, hey, can you debug my program? I can't do that for the performance task. I can't do that. But I can like offer like a few suggestions here or there, right? Especially with the guidelines. If you say, hey, like, I don't know how to answer this one written response, right? Or where are the written responses at? You ask me a question like that, I'm going to say they're in the create task document. I'm going to say they're right here in the document, but I can't go through and answer them for you. All right. Review the scoring guidelines. Once again, we talked about them briefly, but there's a link to them right there. Ensure you know how to cite things. You can use comments. We've already talked about that. And understand the level of detail expected in writing your responses. Now, there's also examples of what a very good response, what an okay response, and what a low-level response looks like. And you can look right there. You can click there and look at the different responses of what quality they expect, a high level, a medium, and a low level. If you submit a program that has been used as an example or was discussed in this class, you must submit original responses to avoid plagiarism. Okay? For example, do not make tic-tac-toe. Okay? Do not make Wheel of Fortune. You can make something very similar to it and call it something else, right? But make sure that you're not taking the same exact thing and just resubmit, okay? You cannot submit any work from AP samples or practice performance. What we've done so far, those have been practice for you guys. All the projects we've done were practice. I want you guys to practice and learn it. So that way, by the time you got here, you're like, oh, wow, that project looks kind of easy. I know how to make a project like that. Be aware that the scoring process that occurs in the AP reading may be different from the score process in your classroom. So for example, if you guys turn in your AP project to me, you turn this create task to me, it's going to be due in 4 weeks. I might give you a grade, so I will give you a grade, but I might give you a grade that you like. And then in May, so it's going to be submitted to me in February. That's when the task is going to be submitted to me. I will not submit your task to College Board. That's not my job. Your job is to then submit your task before May, I believe it's May 20. Let me find the exact date here. May 20th is the deadline to submit your performance task. So you're going to submit it to me in 4 weeks, and I might grade it and say, hey, I loved it. You did a great job, right? And then you might submit to College Board, and they take a look at it and might not give you the score that you want. Or vice versa. I might look at it and be like, could use a little extra work, right? But what you guys have the luxury of is, in February, when it's due, you still have March, April, and May to add additional things to it if you really want to, right? I'm kind of getting it out of the way with, right? Where I'm like, all right, let's do it so you don't have to worry about this entire class, and you can always make changes to it. Whatever you receive from me, whatever grade you receive from me is not going to be the same that you receive from College Board, okay? So your final submission, okay, says, once again, it's different scoring process, okay? The AP score that you receive may be different from your classroom grade. Read the file submission requirements. They're right there, okay? Practice creating a video of your program running, okay? So you can practice as well. Like I said, Screencastify is a good one. If you guys need help with the video ideas, I can offer. I said Screencastify is normally a good one. You can maybe even record via Google's. Some people have recorded things via Google Meet, like I'm doing right now, or via Zoom. Entirely up to you. Some of you guys have had practice sharing your screen before. It's not very difficult. Then it says practice creating a PDF file. I showed you earlier on how to create a PDF file in your Google Doc. You just go through and click File, Download, and then As PDF. Understand you may not revise your work once it has been submitted. So once you submit it to College Board, you can't say, oh, wait, I forgot to do. Nope, sorry, you can't revise it. Things that you must do on the task, all right? You must submit it prior to the deadline, okay? You can't submit it late. Okay, you must follow a calendar or schedule that provides time for all performance. So basically, hey, get it done before the deadline. Read all the directions. You guys did that. Apply the knowledge you have. Whatever you've learned already, apply it. Don't cheat. Use acceptable acknowledgement practices. Use comments to help your program flow and make people understand it. These are things you may not do, though. You may not seek assistance, okay, in revising your work or correcting your work by, like I said, a friend or a family member, or I can't go through and debug your code, all right? Okay, you may not submit like practice performance tasks to me and then me like go through and correct it and then have you go and submit an entirely different project, right? It has to be something that is yours. I can't touch it, right? I can't make changes to it. You can't ask other people for answers. You can't say, hey, what was your answer to this, right? This is like a test, right? You can't collaborate during the creation of your video. Okay, you can't, I mean, that was just expressed, right? Now, if you want to work on this outside of class, yeah, you can. You can work on this at home. You can work on it during class time. I'll give you a lot of class time to work on it, but also work on it at home. Revise your work once you have completed. You cannot revise your work once you've completed and submit to College Board. Some things you may want to do, right? It's up to you, right? First one, no, you can't collaborate. You may follow a timeline, right? You may seek assistance on the formation of groups and resolution of collaboration issues. There's no collaboration, so that line does not exist there. Seek clarification from your teacher on the prompts, right? You may ask me like a question like, hey, like, what does this mean? What is this question, the written response, what does the question mean? And I might be able to like go through and walk through a little bit without seeing your code, what they want, right? I can help clarify things. You cannot work on the performance task outside of the you may work on the performance task outside of the designated class time. So you can work on it at home if you want. It's up to you. You may seek assistance from me to resolve technical problems that impede work, right? Like, hey, you know what? My computer blew up. I need a new computer. All right, I'll be able to lend you a laptop, right? That's what that means. Or hey, like I'm not sure why idle is not working on my computer. Then I can do that, right? You may keep a journal, right? It might be good to write things down as you go along. It might help. I like writing everything down. You know, I'm a list person. I like organizing things. And that's it.